Hello and welcome along to day 4, the fourth and final day, of course, of Gold Cup Day that we are previewing on Rhino Bet's Cheltenham Festival preview. My name is Tracey and being joined by Henry Brooke, Olly Murphy, Mark Boylan and Chris Lucky Loader to preview the fourth and final day. And of course, it would be remiss of us if we did not start with the big one itself, the blue ribboned event of National Hunt Racing, of course, the Gold Cup. And last year's winner, Galopin de Champs, is currently your 10-11 favourite to retain his crown. But Mark, I mean, this is a really good renewal this year.
Yeah, there's loads of depth to it. And, there's so many layers in the sense of Galopin de Champs coming in on a different prep than last season. He's been more busy. He's, maybe Willie Mullins had to tighten the bolts a little bit more earlier, having got beaten in the John Durkan. Fast or Slow has had his number the last twice. You have something like Shishkin coming in who's never met Galopin de Champs, never met Fast or Slow. Jerry Colomb is fresh to the pack as well. There's so much depth to it, but I suppose to go back to last season's race, the most impressive part of it for me was that, jumping the last, you'd never think the Galopin de Champs went 7 lengths. And it's a monster effort. I think on Racing Post ratings, they went and gave him 184. That's the highest rating for a Gold Cup winner since Colin Starr. If you're to go and look at that prism, 10-11 for a horse that they view as the best since Colin Starr to win a Gold Cup is a fair shout. I think it'll take a fair one to beat him. I wouldn't like to be trying to take him on. The angle with Fast or Slow, with which you'd hope could turn the tables, is that Martin Brazel just seems to, when he circles the calendar and says this is the target, not saying you can disregard a season entirely, but you can expect a massive performance from Fast or Slow that is far and above even what he would have produced maybe in the John Durkan, I believe. But do I believe that peak Fast or Slow is able to beat peak Galopin de Champs? No. That's my ultimate kind of, if Galopin does not run to his very best, Fast or Slow, you can see him being banged there and doing there to pick up the pieces. But I think if you're looking for one at a price, I think Corach Rambler, he's exactly one that you could see picking the pieces up to get placed at 20-1, 22-1, something that sort of territory. Obviously, Jude Cheltenham Festival winner, Grand National winner. And I think the angle with him, the margin of victory in last year's Ultima is a neck, and he wins the National by 2 1/4. But to me, the National, to say he was just 2 lengths better than the next horse behind him is a complete underestimation of what he did. He absolutely bolted in this horse. And I think he's got away lightly probably with the National as well. I think he'll be a big player back there, but they have their National mark now. They don't need to worry about spoiling that. The season is always built towards the spring with him. You're going to get a chance. It's a free hit for these guys. If he wins the National or goes close in the National this season, it's not like they have much to protect. I think if he goes there and has a real crack at it, I could see him being placed. But just Galopin de Champs, he's always been just top drawer. Fast or Slow has to prove stamina. The twice he caught him out for me, Kate, I think you can forgive any horse that punches down for a bit of flash. And I think that was the case with Galopin de Champs last spring. And this time around, when he got beaten the John Durkan, basically a horse who can stay 3 1/4 so well, is held up, doesn't jump particularly well, slowly run race, Fast or Slow really well placed. And I think all of it, and as I said to you before, at the time when Willies were short of a run and were getting beaten, I think if that's the straw you're clutching to try and get Galopin de Champs beat, I wouldn't like it to be the only one. So look, for me, to sum it up, I'd say Galopin de Champs, I think he'll go back to back. I think he'll do it again. But Corach Rambler is overpriced from a pace perspective.
22-1 for Corach Rambler as well. And like you say, I don't think we've ever got to the bottom of him. I don't think we actually know how good Corach Rambler is.
Totally agree.
Yeah, and you just said it there, by the margins he's winning by. It's not reflective of his ability at all. But yeah, Galopin de Champs is going to be very difficult to beat then for Mark. Chris, are you going to take him on? Dare you?
I'll probably take him on because
of course. There you go.
He's pretty short, isn't he? I mean, you want to have a go at something at a big old juicy price. I mean,
what price would you expect it to be, Chris, after he took apart an Irish Gold Cup or a Savills by 20-something lengths?
I thought the form of that race was absolutely terrible at the time. To be fair, Capodanno did boost it a little bit, obviously. But going into that, I thought there were a lot of horses that I didn't think. I thought it was a bit much of a muchness, really. And we finally got a bit more of a match last time out. We got a worthy opponent against him with Fast or Slow. I always think that Leopardstown is Galopin's track here. I think even though Galopin's got a great record, Fast or Slow's run well at the track as well. So he finished second last year in the Ultima behind Corach Rambler. And don't write off Corach Rambler. I agree with Mark there. He's never lost at Cheltenham either, 3 from 3. So he's definitely a horses for courses there. Shishkin, I think, can run well. I really like the step up and trip with him. Maybe it's a little bit too late, but if it turns into a bit of a push and shoving match and trying to find off the bridle, we know he's going to give his all, so you can definitely throw his hat into the ring. I think Gentleman's Game is interesting for Mouse Morris, very quiet pro. We don't see him very often, but when we do, he always runs a blinder, seems to go well. Fresh, I think he's a horse that's maybe coming under the radar. And even I thought the real whacker the last day, I didn't think he ran badly. Look, he's probably not good enough to win, but at 50-1, could he finish third? Possibly. I think he's been coming along nicely with each of his runs. So I think there are a few darts you can take on Galloping the Champ. If I had to nail my custom mask, I'd probably just go with Shishkin. I think even, what is he now, 7-1 in the place? I do think that's a little bit of value, and I could see him being a horse that punters want to side with on the day because they like him. They know that he, more or less, when he's on the going day, he's absolutely mustard, and they know that when push comes to shove, he does fine for pressure. And I think a lot of punters, they always like that. They always like a horse that battles and gives their all. And when he's got his mind on the job, he's a proper battler. And I think at the prices, he's a good price to take on Galloping.
Oh, to take him on with then. So that's going to be the main betting angle for you, Chris, is it?
Yeah, I think at the prices, I think he's a little bit big, and I think on the day I could see him maybe being a 9-2 shot, 4-1 maybe. I think punters will want to side with him, because they think, if he's about 7-1, that's a big price. About Shishkin, So for me, I do think he'll be backed on the day.
Yeah, I agree with that. And like I say, he's the name that you know, and everyone knows how much ability he has. It's just whether or not his head's screwed on right that day. Ollie, so we've got different ways to play the Gold Cup from a betting perspective, but super competitive throughout. And I mean, Galopin de Champ, he is about even money then with Rhino Bets at present. Is that reflective of the race, or who do you think you would be willing to take him on?
Probably controversial, Kate, but I actually don't think it's a deep Gold Cup. I really don't. I think the favourite's streets ahead of his chasing pack. He beat Jerry Colon, a cricket field. He beat Fast or Slow decisively the last day. Yes, maybe he wasn't on his A game. Shishkin, I don't know. I don't know. I just think the favourite's a long way ahead of his field. He's far superior of what else is in this Gold Cup field. I think there's 4 or 5 horses very much much of a muchness. I don't think Long Press has been campaigned to win a Gold Cup, and he's had 2 very hard races in quick succession. I think Brave Man's Game has had an ordinary year for his ability. He's been freshened up, and he was the horse. I'm not saying he'll give the favourite a race. I thought it's 16-1 now. I thought he was overpriced. I don't think he's been campaigned probably how Paul Nicholls wanted to campaign him this year. He's becoming a fresh horse. He hasn't run for 2.5 months. I thought at 16-1, he was the each way bet the race. But I think if Gallopin gets in a rhythm, which he should do, I honestly can't see him getting beat. And that shouldn't be said in an English Gold Cup. I think there should be a 3-mile chaser from either this side of the water or the other side of the water that is serving up to him in the market and to have an even money shot running the Gold Cup again. I don't know. I just don't think it's the deepest of races. I think there's plenty of horses going into this race a fair level below of what he is at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, we say about the depth of the race, but you just say we've got an even money favourite. So that probably goes to show actually the opposite of what I've just gone and said anyway. But Brave Man's Game, in terms of the betting perspective, 16-1, considering he's finished second in it last year.
And Paul Nicholls is an absolute genius and as good a trainer as we've seen by Willie Mullins for many a year. I'd love to see Brave Man's Game dropped in a little bit and ride him to come home. I don't think he's a brawling out and out stayer. I'd love to see him ridden how Corrick Rambler's ridden. Drop him in, take a chance, follow them through and have a go down to the last. And I don't know the horse well enough. Maybe that's not the way to ride him, but I'd love to see him ridden like that once, see if it just works.
Yeah, and if he's not going to reverse the tables with Galopin from last year and how he was ridden there, well, you never know if they might be tempted just to try that bit different. Because if you're into a staying battle with Galopin de Champ, I feel like you're only ever going to come off second best. So, yeah, and 16-1 is a nice price about Brave Man's Game. So, Henry, Ollie's given us an alternative view there, but Galopin de Champ, going to be very difficult to beat.
Yeah, obviously his wins, he does look like a Frankel of the jumps, doesn't he? The way he travels through his races, and I was so impressed with him the last day and the time before. He was so impressive. Looked just phenomenal. I totally agree with Ollie. Braceman Games, he's been ridden all wrong. He just wants dropping in and just literally hunt around. I just think they make too much use of him all the time when they have been running him. I don't see why they want to be popping him out all the time. I don't think he massively is the strongest of stayers. So I think I would love to see him just smuggled into a race and ridden for a place and see how you got on. An interesting one is the Real Whacker. Massive fact for you that he will be running headgear. Well, I'm going to school him this week for play. We're either going to put the visors on him or he will have cheek pieces. And I think that will make a massive improvement out of this horse. He raced really lazy the last day. He's a horse that you often see real keen forward horses, and they go for that for 6 months, a year, and then they go the other way where they need the blinkers on then to keep them up to that. When he won round Cheltenham, obviously he made every inch of the running, and he's kind of one of them that, when you're asking a horse, constantly asking, it soon takes them to just, they race behind the bridle. I'd say the visors will make a massive improvement. Don't know if he's good enough to go and win the race, but at 66 to 1 or 50 to 1, I think there are enough improvement there to make a massive shout for him each way.
Yeah, and of course, the Cheltenham Festival winner then last year in his own right in the Brown Advisory. But just to go back to that, Henry, and how he ran last time out at Cheltenham in the Cotswold Chase, because he looked like a nightmare of a ride in terms of Sam could always had to have that loopy rein on him because the horse almost looked as though he was providing that loopy rein for him. Wasn't taking him into any fences. I mean, can you just talk through that, how difficult that is to ride a horse that is not carrying you forwards in any way?
Yeah, exactly. And he's been a horse that's always taken you normally. And now he's kind of racing behind the bridle. He's been a great jumper, and it's making his jumping sloppy because when you're on them long strides, there's no actual impulsion to then go, 1, 2, 3, go and win your fence. You're pushing something that's not travelling, so you're making it hard work for him. It looks an effort then when he's long. So he's definitely a horse that's just getting a little bit wise to the game. But I think the headgear is going to make a massive improvement. Obviously, he's got to school in him this week and see how he goes. But he's a horse that's got a massive potential. He's just getting a little bit leery to it. I worked him last week. He worked really well. And literally he went to go and do his bit of work, and he got half a length in front of the horse he was working with. He slapped his ears forward and he just stayed half a length in front of it. He's doing the bare minimum and couldn't blow a candle out at the top of the gallop. So I do think that he's definitely crying out for some headgear.
That's going to be fascinating to see if that sparks him up. So we will stay tuned for that to hear your verdict on exactly how he goes in the trial headgear then later this week. Right, well, that's the Gold Cup done and dusted. Now we're going to go to the race prior to the Gold Cup, which is the Albert Bartlett Novices at Hurdle. Now we have a really open contest here. It's always a tricky one to weigh up at the best of times. So we have 7-2 joint favourites between a pair of Willie Mullins runners, High Class Hero, Reed and Tommy Wrong in this one. So, Ollie, I mean, the Albert Bartlett, it's never an easy contest for any horse. It's a bit of a war of attrition at the best of times. Never quite know who's even going to run in it necessarily, but Willie Mullins just looks to have a really strong hand. He's even got a third in the bet and then 8 to 1 about Dancing City as well. So, I mean, is it Willie Mullins' to lose?
It kind of looks that way, albeit I think the couple of English runners now, I don't know, will Captain T run in this race? We're on the 2-5.
Yeah, I don't know actually, because I mean, last time out when he won the Charlo, they were talking about him. Well, that would be very bare minimum trip for him. So I don't know exactly which route they're going to go down with him. But I mean, 3 miles, he'd stay every bit of it.
Yeah, I thought he'd still obviously stay as well. Races behind the bridle, winner of point to point as well. I thought he was probably the best of the Brits, albeit Harry Fry's horse doesn't look a bad type either. But yeah, the Irish look to have a real strong hand in it. The top turn of the market have loads of experience. I think that is one thing that does help in this race now, to have a lot of experience. Obviously, you'll end up having to get down and dirty these novices over 3 miles on the outer tracks. So, yeah, Mark will tell us an awful lot more. I don't know a whole pile about this then kind of novice division from the other side of the water. Obviously, Captain Teague's a Grade 1 winner. What kind of a Grade 1 he won now, I'm not so sure. But he beat a horse of mine 7 lengths first time out in a Persian War at Chepstow. I like Carlton a handicap of 124. So whether that's going to be good enough to win an Albert Bartlett, I'm not so sure.
Well, you have a very well handicapped horse if that is the case.
I've done a very bad job with him, so I can't win him off 124. So I hope I haven't done a bad job. I hope he gets well beaten Albert Bartlett, to be honest. I think the Irish form is an awful lot stronger than ours.
Yeah, this isn't actually the form boost you want at all. Then for that, no, Captain Teague. I mean, 16-1 for the Albert Bartlett. He's 20-1 for the Bearing Bingham. So potentially, then he looks more likely to be stepping up in trip and to try and put one of the Paul Nicholls runners in amongst these Willie Mullins bunch. But again, Willie Mullins then with such a strong hand in this one.
Like it's a bit the same with every race, Kate, isn't it? But obviously it's a race that's hard to talk about now at this stage when he's got the first three in the betting. He's obviously not going to run all three, so it's definitely Willie Mullins' race to look at, to lose on paper so far. You just have to see which he goes with.
Yeah, and see exactly who puts into it then and which one's then being backed, I guess, towards the time. Chris, I mean, how do you separate any of these?
Yeah, it's really hard. I do really like reading Tommy wrong. I actually backed him last time out when he won the Lawlers of Nace. I actually put him up on socials. And just the way that he's been campaigned, he's probably a horse that's not caught the imagination of some of the likes of Ballyburn and even Antique. He maybe doesn't have that sexy profile because he was ridden, I think, in a few summer jumps races. So he kind of went under the radar. And if you read some of the stable tours and that coming out, that he's been a bit of a dark horse. And I think he really showed that the last day that he is a horse that maybe we still haven't quite gone to the bottom of. And the way that he raced in the Lawlers Race, it just further went the better he looked. And I really like the way how he battled to the line. So I think the step up and trip would suit him. I really quite like him coming in here if they do go with him. I think Shannon Bob as well is also another interesting horse for Nicky Henderson. Won over the course and distance back in December, and he beat a horse of Roosh Jefferson's called Kerry Hill. He went on to win the River Don at Doncaster quite nicely that day, and there's also a couple of other horses in that race that have boosted the form. He's probably not a very flashy type. He's quite workmanlike, but I think he could definitely run a nice race. And the fact that he's been to Cheltenham and done it, I quite like. The profile of this, to win this race, has kind of gone a bit full circle the last few years. Maybe about 5 or 6 years ago, you needed a horse that maybe had quite a lot of experience, quite a few runs under their belt, and you got a few big prize winners. Whereas in the last few years, those horses that maybe have only had a couple of runs, the sexy horses, the likes of obviously Willie Mullins and that they've been coming more to the fore. So I think you can win it with a different type of... You can win it with all kinds of profiles, is what I'm trying to say. So I do think the likes of reading Tommy wrong, that they've got all the ones next to the name still on an upward curve. They can go well, but also like Shannon Bob as well. Only had a couple of runs, maybe isn't the most sexy, but he can still run well. So I quite like Shannon Bob to run a nice race under the radar. Might not be good enough to win, but I could see him running well each way.
Yeah, in each trip race then about Shannon Bob, but he is, a nice horse anyway. And like you say, it has almost done full circle. I'm glad that you flagged that up actually about this race, where not necessarily that real battle hardened type as such, but you can win it with a lesser exposed horse as well. I mean, the Nice Guy a couple of years ago won it. Fun fact for you, I led him up that day as well. I get where water wouldn't me. So, you can win it with an unexposed horse and with an idiot leading you up as well. Mark, which idiot's going to lead up a good winner here?
Geez, I'd have to keep an eye on what you're leading around the parade ring on the day. That'll be the biggest do.
I also led up Dino Blue, so I managed to get her beat off a mark of 140 and a handicap. Don't try and follow what I'm leading on. It's
okay. I back Gaelic Warrior in the Boodles. It's okay. We all have our crosses to bear. Listen, Willie's team here. This is the hardest the novice hurdles, goes without saying, to solve. High Class Hero, he's come the unfashionable route, and I think it sounds like the route that Chris has mentioned there of wanting experience. It's kind of Penn Hillish. I think that's what they've tried to go out and set out and achieve. Get them lots of runs. Listowel, Galway, Listowel, Limerick. They're not even, I think it was third last time. They haven't gone to the top, winter tracks. But I like his profile. I got the impression just they felt he had improved again the last day. But it's I don't think any of these horses, if you are of the persuasion you want to take a chance on something at a bigger price, I don't get the impression that, you know, either of High Class Hero, Dancing City, or Reed and Tommy Wrong are in the they're not in the Ballyburn type of league. They're not, I don't think, thought of in the same breath as a Tully Hill. Just reading between the lines, the impression I get. So if you did like something at a bigger price, I wouldn't let it stop you. I think Gidley Park is a big chance if he comes here. Maybe the ground will dictate that. But I really liked what he did last time. I think he's no slouch. I think he's one of those that if he was coming from our side of the water, I think he'd be a few points shorter. But if you're looking for a bit of value, I think Lecky Watson, it's rare you hear Willie kind of express, you know, publicly kind of upset with a ride. And you could see that he wasn't happy with the way it unfolded last time in the Lauders. And he's just a pesky bugger who just keeps going and keeps going. He's got a bit of experience now. A horse we didn't touch on in the Ballymore Supreme or Barry Supreme was Slade Steele. He's highly regarded here. And Lecky Watson gave him a real rattle, got within half a length of him in a grade 2 at Navan. He's fourth in the champion bumper last season. Spoken about that for him at Fact to File. He's just behind Captain Teague that day. Just at 12 or 14 to 1. He is just an out and out kind of stayer to me anyway, who will keep going and keep going. And when some of them mightn't quite stand up to the stamina test, I think he will. So he might be a bit of each way value, but it is the hardest of all the novice hurdles to crack.
Yeah, as always, with Lecky Watson, though, like say 12, 14 to 1 then about him, if you can get that for a horse that, does have a lot of ability, if not a few quirks in as well for Mark. Right, now the Mares Chase, this comes up at 4:50, so a couple of hours after the Albert Bartlett. And again, we've got a very short price, Willie Mullins' favourite, just churn that line out time and time again. And it is the aforementioned Dino Blue. Don't worry, she won't have me on her back for a week building up to this race if you are siding with her. So you've already got that in your locker anyway. But of course, she is the even money favourite. But I guess the biggest question for her, though, Chris, is she going to get the trip?
I think not. I'm quite keen to take her on, especially if the ground's soft. An interesting angle into this race is that, okay, we've only had 3 renewals of the race, but 2 of the 3 winners have been novices. So that's quite an interesting angle. Impervious and Carl Reevy, they were both novices, you know. So you can get a mare that's improving through the novice ranks, come into this race and run an absolute blinder and take the prize. And I found one of a bit of a price here that, look, has to improve a lot to get involved, but I just like the way she's been improving every run, and that's a mare of Olly Murphy's called Carol's Pass. Now, she finished 3rd behind Limerick Lace even at Doncaster a couple of months ago, but I just like the way she was been improving. She was a bit of an eye catcher that day. She then went to Huntington. She was unseated, but she was still going as well as anything in the race that day. So I think you can forgive her that run. And then the way she won at Exeter the last day, she beat some good mares in there, the likes of Melina Girl, Gala Dilato of the Skeltons. Okay, maybe a few of them didn't run their race, but she's just taken to fences really well this season. And a lot of her mares form this side of the Archie stacks up quite well. So I do think she's a horse that's going in the right direction. She gets £5 from Dino Blue, who has to carry a penalty. And if it does turn into a bit of a stamina test over trip, if it is soft, maybe even over ground on the day, I think 25 to 1, she's a nice price. And I could see her running up the hill, maybe not good enough to win, but she's a horse that I'm quite keen that she'll run a good race. So for me, I'm going to go for Carol's Pass.
Like it a lot then. Another big swing in this race, and looking away from the head of the market is Chris, and 25 to 1 about Carol's Pass and Pin. Ollie, so obviously this race of Mares Chase, it's still relatively in its infancy as an actual pass to the Cheltenham Festival. I mean, I really like it as a race, but do you have any strong opinions on this year's renewal?
Not particularly. I just thought maybe Rivertel was overpriced at 20s or 25s. She hasn't got loads to find with the Rich Ritchie horse, and she was put up last year as nearly an Irish banker in the race last year, and I just thought she could run well at a big price. Now the Beckham stud horse of Gordon's, obviously the 2 Willie Mullins horse at the top of the market looks strong, but from a bit of an each way value, I thought Gordon's really could run into a place at a big price, but I haven't got a huge opinion on the race.
Yeah, 16 to 1 about her. Also, like you say, everyone sort of thought the world of for quite a while there, but she seems to have fallen out of favour somewhat, and certainly in the prices as well. But that is allowing you that bit more value as a result of that. Henry, Mares Chase, who wins it?
I like the Gavin Cromwell horse, Bridges Hill. Won really well at Huntingdon. And this year it's must have been better than ever. Never really been a horse to just kind of have a really good run through a season. Always like there's been unseats, pulled ups, falls, etc. But this year looking better than ever, like really on a consistent level. Made it 3 from 3 this year. Won that well. Whether she's good enough to win or not, I don't know. But 8-1. There's a question that Dino Blue doesn't stay. So Chris liked that. So yeah, I'm going to side with her.
Okay, siding away from the head of the market again, then Bryce about 8-1, Gavin Cromwell with yet another British rage then for this mare. Mark, surely someone's got to side with Dino Blue.
Yeah, I think she's the most likely winner. I understand the stamina query. She's a half to Blue Sari, who I remember was running a cracker in the Coral Cup, obviously 2-5. And he came down at the last possibly. Sorry?
I also rode him out that week and led him up that day. I'm a curse.
Can you please tell me what you're going to ride this week? Because as soon as you know, so I can have an idea. But I don't know.
Avoid it.
I'm sure you're not bad luck. But no, there is a little encouragement in the pedigree, maybe for all that there is. It's not concrete now. She will stay. But I just listen. Willie's. I never get not saying it's flippantly, but you see how experimental he can be in terms of trips with horses and maiden hurdles, where you can be running 14 over 3 miles and you can drop back to 2. I don't always think it's the end of the world with some of these horses because they're so fit. You can go there with absolute full faith to be ready for the day. I suppose Allegory Devastic, part of the reason I would like Dino Blue is because the thought of her jumping the last year in the Mayor's Chase, looking like she had the race sewn up, and then God almighty, she was nearly on the death notice by the time she got back to the parade ring. It was like I couldn't understand how she stopped. And just she wears the tongue tie. Maybe she is just a little weak finisher at times. And the race last time at Naas, that probably wasn't it. I think the way it unfolded, 2 of them took each other on and it fell into her lap. But she's a talented mare. I think she's really, really good. But I just think in the heat of battle, she might be one that can crack. So look at Dino Blue by process elimination, Kate. But it's not as strong. I'll put it this way: 10-11. I'd rather be getting stuck into Ballyburn at a price than Dino Blue.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, that was a token sort of selection by default. So at this stage, I think I'll be taking that then for Dino Blue in the Mayor's Chase. Right, now again, we have plenty of other races on day 4. Of course, the Triumph hurdle as well, the County, the Hunter's Chase, the Marston Fight, conditional jockeys, handicap hurdle as well. Then, but Olly, I'm going to throw this back to you. Godante, of course, he ran a blinder last time out in the Betfair hurdle when finishing 3rd. He's entered in a pair of the handicap hurdles then on the Friday, hoping to get a run.
Yes, I'm kind of stuck between a rock and a hard stone because I'm not sure he is going to get a run, and I imagine he's going to open up close to the top of the market for an Imperial Cup next Saturday. So, yeah, whether we have to get a Sandown on Saturday for a 100 grand handicap or sit in our hands and take a chance that we'll get into a handicap in Cheltenham where he's going to be probably a 16-1 shot for. I don't really know what to do, to be honest. But he'd have a little each way chance if he went to Cheltenham. He ran well in a Betfair. He's improved all year. Still think he's feasibly handicapped to run well in a big handicap. But yeah, whether he's going to get in or not remains to be seen.
What do you do in that situation as a trainer? Like, do you confirm or try and ask the owners then exactly what they want to do? Are they willing to sit there and wait and chance that they're going to get a run? I mean, what in your position right now do you do?
Unfortunately, he'll be confirmed for those 2 races next Saturday, where he'll have to be declared to get a Sandown. So, yeah, I don't really know what to do, to be honest. I would imagine we will probably end up going to Sandown, because it looks unlikely that he is going to get in at Cheltenham, unfortunately. But unfortunately, you've got to make those big decisions when you're a big boy. And if you get it right, great. If you don't, take it on the chin. But he'd have an each way chance if we did get into a race. But I'd say he's more likely to go for the Imperial Cup.
Yeah, this is why. I mean, there are many reasons why I don't envy being a trainer, but this is definitely one of those. Those kind of big calls, Mark. Luckily, we're not making them. We're just trying to find the winners.
Yeah, that's not the easiest call either. Though sometimes, is it? But
nope.
Look, I don't envy being in Ollie's boots. But listen, you've still got a nice team of young horses to look forward to. I suppose rest of the Friday, I think the ground is going to be a factor. I suppose it's some of them. Absurd is one I've had in my mind for the county hurdle. One of those, you're looking now at trying to get a novice into these better handicaps when you need the 4 runs as opposed to 3. It just does limit your ability to see an unexposed one. I just still think this horse, an E-bar winner, runs a cracker in the Melbourne Cup. The chance to see him in a county hurdle off a mark in the 130s is appealing. For all that, maybe his jumping does need to sharpen up. Although you could have said that maybe with State Man heading into the county that year as well. Magical Zoe, if the ground was on the soft side for ruling out absurd, I suppose. Magical Zoe, massive eye catcher in the Mayor's Novice last year. Thought she should have won. Huge amount of ground to make up turning in and ran a blinder. She's 16-1, 14-1 for the county. I think she's a big player too. And in the Martin Pipe, I'm totally. It's almost as if someone has jumped the gun at me today doing this preview because I see a sea of blue for Key de Bourbon in the Martin Pipe. He was, I think, 20s and 12s and 16s about a month ago, and even kind of 8s and 9s earlier in the week. But I see he's now gone favour for the Martin Pipe. That doesn't help me cause, but I think he's got a huge chance. And with that market changing, if it was like that on the day, maybe you'll get a bit of value at Waterford Whispers in the same race. He's definitely one that could be on the up as well for Henry de Bromhead. I like some of his form in Irish handicaps this season. I think you can definitely make a case for him as one that looks like he could have another level to this. So those are two, I suppose, ground factoring in, but absurd. Magical Zoe, I think she's versatile in that sense. And in the Martin Pipe, I'm not impressed with the price with Key de Bourbon, but I think he's got a huge player, if not Waterford Whispers.
Yeah, that price has really gone today, hasn't it? So again, not to really to your liking then for that sea of blue, but at least people are speaking in your favour then for a selection. I guess that's some sort of compensation for that. Henry, anything else then that you fancy in any of those other races?
Yeah, okay. I can't not mention him, Sir Gino. He's I really fancied him the last day to beat Bernadette Road, which he did. Obviously that was on good to soft. Twice he's won on that now. He has won on heavy in Artois. Had his win done after that, so there's a little bit of doubt there. But I've been so impressed with this horse. Like literally, just looks the real deal. Definitely a champion hurdle contender for the following year. So yeah, it's that'd be my banker of Cheltenham, Sir Gino.
There you go.
That's a fair point, Mark. If you dare say the Irish are going to beat the English in the Triumph, there's big arguments.
We only had the first 10 home of the Triumph last year, Olly, yeah?
Yeah, I'd hope for you one of the first 10 home this year. Really interesting. When Sean was out injured, James Bone was coming and riding out for me a little bit, and he came in one Sunday morning. It was quiet, and a few of the lads on the ground said to James, what's Nicky's best knowledge for Cheltenham? Or kind of this was back in kind of end of November. And we were expecting him to say X, Y, and Z. And he pulled out this horse, Sir Gino, hasn't run yet, is a juvenile. He said, I think he'll win the Triumph. At the time, he was 14, 16-1 now. And I have a lot of lads in the little village of Wilmcote here in Stratford-upon-Avon that are rubbing their hands at the moment. So, if he wins, I won't have too many lads in Saturday morning.
Then all drinks on James Bowen then. Thank you so much for the intel at that part of the season to the village. That is fantastic. Yeah, that 4-6 now is significantly contracted from there. So he knew, obviously connections knew then again, and hopefully we won't be getting him beaten. And Chris, hopefully Sir Gino can be a British banker then for us. He's Henry's banker at least, and Ollie's and his friends have got him at 14. So we've all missed out, the rest of us. But what do you like from elsewhere?
Yeah, I'll just stay on this Gino bandwagon just a sec. I was at Huntington when Burdett Road won. He won one of the Rhino Bet sponsored races on the card there, and Harry Cobden got off him and he said, right, we're going to go to Cheltenham. And then obviously he was very impressive at Cheltenham, and going into that race on Trials Day, I really thought Burdett Road was going to get the better of Sir Gino, but I was just mightily impressed by Sir Gino that day. Maybe Burdett Road didn't give his run, and it's a shame we're not going to see him at the festival, but yeah, Sir Gino just looks top class. I think the horse that might finish second to him is Cargeese of Willie Mullins's. Done pretty well over in Ireland. Won last time out at the Dublin Racing Festival. Fillies have got a good record in the Triumph. Last year you had Lossiemouth, Galamasso and Zenta, 3 fillies finishing the top 3 of the Triumph, and even a couple of years before, Burning Victory obviously picked up the pieces to beat Goshen that day. So fillies can run well in the race, and she gets the allowance. So I could see her running quite well. And in the county hurdle, Favre from last year really haunts me because I napped him the year before in the county hurdle, and I didn't have a penny on. So that was a bit bit painful. I think he could have a good chance this year. Favour looks like he's been lined up for the race again. On some of his form from a couple of seasons ago, he was rated in the mid 140s. He looks like he's going to be running off 136 here, only £2 higher than last year. I could definitely see him coming back to life. The Skeltons know what it takes to win the race, so I'm hoping maybe he can reward me again. And I think Iberico Lord in that race as well has got a standout chance. He's just been improving really well in handicaps this year. The ground's on the soft side, he's going to love it and probably could go off a well-backed favourite on the day. So yeah, there are a couple on my short list for the county.
Perfect then. Yeah, like I say, if the softer ground then for him, the better. So yeah, so loads of other angles then into our final concluding races on a day 4, of course, Gold Cup Day. But that wraps up everything from us on this Rhino Bet Cheltenham Festival preview. So big thank you to Olly, Mark, Henry and to Chris for all of their time, efforts, hard work, hopefully some winners in there as well for you. Big thank you to you at home for watching. Enjoy the Cheltenham Festival. Do remember to gamble responsibly, but to all of you out there, best of luck.